Hey there, connoisseurs. It's Rod with the POW Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Saturday, October 12th. We're doing well. Hope you have a great long weekend as well. For those in Canada, happy Thanksgiving. In this video, we're going to be discussing Raoul Pal having a conversation with Mark Hart. They discuss MJ reform, and I've been following Raoul for quite a while now. He's a very prominent figure in crypto, and I was a bit surprised whenever Rita actually in the POW Group private community shared this. So shout out to Rita. Appreciate you sharing this with me. But yeah, this was something that caught me by surprise. It was just posted today, and Mark Hart kind of discusses MJ reform. So I'm going to play that video for everybody, and we'll go through it. Like I said, he's very well known in crypto. He's the macro investor, and he's the founder of Real Vision, and I've got nothing but great things to say about Raoul over the past, a couple of years that I've been following him. Very smart individual. I do think that he talks his book a lot, but we'll hear what he has to say here today, and Mark Hart as well in their discussion. Before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So this was the video here on Raoul Pal, the journeyman. He created so he has the Real Vision YouTube channel, and then he also created his own, the Journeyman channel as well. And he's already got 128K subscribers on there, and I think he just started it not too long ago. But you can see here the video is titled "Mark Hart's MJ Reform Take Will Change Everything You Thought." So I'll shut up now for a bit, and we'll play this video here.
Cannabis is still a Schedule One drug, but I think the way to frame it is that it's you have the illicit sector that has probably 2/3 market share. They don't pay taxes. They don't have to worry about environmental impact of what they do. They don't have to worry about any of the regulatory issues. Certainly have coerced or extremely, cheap labor. They don't have to pay healthcare, and so what happens when you have 2/3 of the market basically has these gigantic structural advantages over the over the legal market. If the marginal producer is the illicit sector and they're producing at a much lower cost than the legal sector, it pushes down both top line and bottom line. It squeezes, and that's definitely been happening. And you have obviously the tailwinds of new states allowing medical or allowing legal. You have the tailwinds of, increased consumption kind of.
I want to just pause it there for a second too. I've always been thinking of in my own brain and in the back of my mind is, why are they allowing the illicit market to thrive? Why are they not cracking down? Look at what happened in New York and the illicit stores there. And why are they not doing more? And you have to think too, like, from a social equity standpoint, from allowing mom and pop shops to thrive, right? To allowing the incumbents to catch up, right? The big alcohol, big tobacco, big pharmas. They want to slow the industry down as much as possible so that those incumbents can catch up. And like I said, I used to work for a pharmaceutical company, and they were involved in the opioid scandals and were fined billions of dollars, and they were wrapped up in lawsuits there. And then after that, all they talked about was CBD and MJ for like 2 years straight, right? And couldn't wait to get their hands all over it. So not only is the government and these lobbyists trying to slow down the industry to protect their own self-interest and the incumbents, it's also, in my opinion, to weed out, no pun intended, the small mom and pop shops, right? They want to basically make it look like everybody has a level playing field and everybody can thrive. But at the end of the day, if you look what happened here in Canada, there's been so many bankruptcies and insolvencies that, it's like, hey, you know what? We gave everybody an equal playing field. It's like, yes, but at the same time, you're charging high excise taxes or the 280E taxes, right? And it's just, I think they want to do it long enough so that the incumbents can catch up, get their paws all over the industry, and then they'll let it thrive. And then, the people, the small average Joe and Jane, they can't really say, well, the government didn't allow us to own our own shops. It's just, the government said, no, we let you do whatever you want. You just didn't fail. You just didn't succeed. You failed. But it's not really that fair because, like I said, they're not really allowing everybody to thrive. So, at the end of the day, I think there's a reason behind it, a method to their madness. And I think it is to protect the incumbents and to just weed out the small mom and pop, everyday Joe and Jane, right? Because it's the big companies, the Fortune 500 companies and the public traded companies that can weather the storm, right? They'll just tap the equity markets, dilute, do whatever they need to do to get by, right? It's just the average Joe and Jane don't have that luxury, right? And that's my own thoughts and opinions on that. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and we'll continue on from here.
Across the board, particularly among older people. So they're definitely large tailwinds, but I guess it's sort of the biggest problem is probably the way that the playing field, the current kind of legal environment really tilts the playing field in favor of the illicit sector.
And so, are you comfortable holding a position to allow this to be kind of rectified, but something's changed for the catalyst? Or do you just trade it in and out of it now? How do you manage that? Because you've got tailwinds that are clear. There's a secular trend. Problem is you've got these headwinds.
Yeah, I mean it's been a terrible trade. In hindsight, it shouldn't have held the longer term positions. But it's not. I mean, it certainly was a much bigger.
What he's saying is, I'll translate, I bought the top and I held, and now I'm holding, I'm bag holding, and I'm down 80-90% of my portfolio like most people, right? We'll continue on here, but it's preaching to the choir at this point. Obviously, there's been lots of great. I always find it funny how everybody only talks about the bad with MJ. Like, look at the run up from 2017 to the high of 2018, right? When Canada legalized, like there was so much opportunity. Yes, you don't really hear that many people talking about the good because most people, if you look at the average retail investor, most people want to buy when things are going up. The stock market is the only place where people don't want to discount, right? They don't want to be buying when things are at all-time lows or dropping to new lows. They got it all backwards. They're buying when things are hypey. They're buying when things are near all-time highs or 52-week highs because they feel good about the investment because it's going up and then it keeps going up. Whereas, people just don't like to buy the bottom because they think that, the sector is going to go away or, companies are going to fail and go bankrupt. But at the end of the day, like I said, these companies that weather the storm are going to be the ones that reap all of the rewards, and it's going to be a massive industry. But like I said, they got to protect those incumbents, and it's only going to be 6 to 12 big companies that run this space globally, in my opinion, when it's all said and done. And like I said, putting in all these crazy regulations and high excise taxes and taxes in general, that's what's going to give those public traded companies and those big conglomerates the advantage over the small average Joe and Jane, because they just won't be able to get through it. But yeah, we have to remember that there's been a lot of opportunity with MJ as well. If you're buying and holding, yes, it's been brutal, but there's been lots of waves. There's been lots of volatility to the up and the down, and like I said, you can't have 90 or you can't have 100x returns or 50x returns or 1000x returns without 90% pullbacks, right? That's what's called volatility, and you have extreme volatility to the downside, right? Some names down 80-90% plus, but that means that there's still so much volatility to the upside. Once we start only dropping 10-20%, and that's a lot, like imagine Amazon stock dropping 10-20% at the end of the world, right? In like a week or in a day or something like that. So eventually, but Amazon doesn't go up 100% in a very short period of time, right? Like Canopy Growth went up like a few 100% in just a matter of a couple of weeks, right? That would never happen in Amazon. So that tells you that there's still opportunity.
Exposure for me a couple of years ago than it is, now. And it's not a theme, I think, that has to have, federal reform. Obviously, that would be great, but, demand is really inelastic. You could have simply enforcement of laws that could really decimate, or, the illegal immigration, for instance, in the United States has really fortified the sort of illicit sector. And I think, any type of crackdown on lawlessness is would be a huge boost kind of to the sector. And all the while, the companies in the sector, the ones that still exist, because many of them have failed, they find themselves in a relatively sparse landscape of legal competition, and they've had years to sort of optimize their operations and adapt.
And you have to think to that point again, what are the companies that are left? Like, who are the real big companies that are left? Obviously, the U.S. companies a little bit different, but in Canada, where the most of the bankruptcies and the insolvencies have happened, who are the real companies that are left? And what is a trend that we've seen? Are any of those companies that are failing, are they companies that are backed by big capital? Like, think about Canopy Growth and Constellation Brands. Think about Kronos Group and Altria. Think about Organigram and British American Tobacco. Think about, there's tons. There's Oxley and Imperial Brands, right? All the companies that are backed by these big Fortune 500 and big conglomerates, big alcohol, big tobacco, big pharma, you name it. Like, those are the ones that are still here, right? Like, obviously there's some outliers, but majority of the companies that are failing are not the ones backed by these big capital and these big companies. And again, that's because they have the luxury of capital and tapping the public market, right? And that's the whole point of a public market, is to seek capital from the public. And these companies that are private or just smaller mom and pop shops, they just don't have that luxury, and they just don't have that ability to weather the storm, right? So it's not a coincidence that all these companies that are invested in the Canadian MJ companies, it's not a coincidence that those are the ones that are still left standing. And in my opinion, in 5-10 years from now, when it's all said and done, they're going to be the ones to reap most of the rewards.
To kind of the current environment. And I now think you have a sector that many of the companies have shored up their balance sheets, been able to achieve growth despite the headwinds, and are kind of poised for what I think is sort of tremendous growth and probably appreciation and stock price with the right catalyst. And I don't know that it when it comes, and I can't say that I love this theme, for instance, more than Bitcoin related, but it is an industry that has fully domestic supply chains. It is an industry that I think does a real, positive good. You have, big drops in things like, opioid abuse, even just the number of prescription drugs.
Absolutely. And I just did a video as well on how AI can revolutionize this industry. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. The Future of MJ and AI Revolution, and how artificial intelligence can revolutionize medicine of the future. And it's a great substitute for opioids and things like that. And he mentioned crypto, and Raoul Pal, the journeyman, and Real Vision. They talk about crypto, 99% of the time, I would say. So he's just comparing the two. And what I've been saying for a while now is that's that same demographic. And look what happened in 2018 when crypto topped out. MJ went on its biggest bull run ever. I think something similar is shaping up here, where we're more than likely going to see crypto, big tech, AI, EVs top out over the next, call it 3 to 6 months, and then they'll enter a bear market. Doesn't mean there won't be bounces along the way, but it'll probably top out. We'll see a euphoric blow off top. That'll be our top and our all-time highs for, probably at least a year or a couple of years. And then once it goes into a bear market, we should see MJ start to flourish.
Described, in places where cannabis is legal, either for medical or, adult use, recreational.
Hey there, revolutionaries. To join a community.
All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, I was pretty shocked whenever I saw this MJ Reform video discussion on Raoul Pal's, the Journeyman's YouTube channel. So this is just, a testament to that. There's a lot of big hedge fund and big capital that are looking at this industry. They're just like us. They don't have a crystal ball. They don't know when the bottom is going to be. But as of right now, based on all of the signs that I'm seeing, this is a good sign. This is a positive sign that the bottom is a lot closer than many of us think. And I think, call it 10, 15, 20 days before the election, I think they're really going to start to pump MJ as part of their political campaigns. And there was some news out today as well about a new bill that got another sponsor today. And that had to do with the U.S. House bill to deschedule MJ nationwide and allow expungements. They gained their 96th sponsor, and that was reported by the MJ Herald. So, like I said, exciting times ahead. Unfortunately, it's been a brutal, almost 4-year bear market. But like I said, the bottom is getting close, and I think with so many catalysts on the horizon, potential rescheduling in the U.S. as well, and then Florida on the ballot, the elections coming up, improvements to excise taxes in Canada, Germany, the rest of the EU, looking to ramp up and see reform. The sky's the limit. So buckle up. We're in for a great ride. But going in it there, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. We'll continue the conversation in the comment section below. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and we'll catch you on the next one.